Captain Hyunwoo stared at the bright star map floating above his ship's control panel. The blue and green lines showed all the safe routes through space that cargo ships like his could use. His ship, the Stellar Wind, was getting ready for another, boring trip to deliver supplies to the outer colonies. "Captain, we have a problem with our route," called Navigator Jaemin from across the bridge. His voice sounded worried. Hyunwoo walked over to look at Jaemin's screen. Right in the middle of their planned path was a huge empty space. No shipping lanes went through it. No trade routes crossed it. The entire area was marked in bright red on every star chart in the galaxy. "What is that place?" Hyunwoo asked, pointing at the red zone. "Terra Alpha 7, sir. It has been off-limits for over 300 years. Hyunwoo frowned. 300 years was longer than most alien races had been traveling between stars. Why? What makes it so dangerous? Jaemin looked around the bridge nervously before answering. "There is no official danger warning, Captain, but every space pilot knows the truth." He paused and lowered his voice. "The humans still watch that place." A cold feeling ran down Hyunwoo's back. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans, even though no one had seen them for centuries. They had been one of the first races to travel between stars. They had built colonies on dozens of worlds. Then suddenly they all disappeared. No one knew why or where they went. "I thought humans were gone," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Most people think so too," replied Jaemin. "But that system has defense platforms that never shut down. They never break. They never run out of power. And they watch everything that comes near." The ship's computer beeped softly. Chief Engineer Minsu looked up from her station. "Captain, our cargo manifest shows we could save 2 days of travel time if we cut through that sector. The fuel savings would be significant." Hyunwoo shook his head quickly. "No, we go around." "But sir," Minsu continued, "our company is always telling us to find more efficient routes. This could save them a lot of money." I said no. Hyunwoo's voice was firm. "Plot a course around the perimeter. We follow the approved shipping lanes, like everyone else." Jaemin nodded and began entering new coordinates. "Good choice, Captain. My father was a navigator too. He told me stories about ships that tried to enter that zone." "What kind of stories?" asked young pilot Tae-ho, who was new to deep space travel. "Ships that went in and never came out," Jaemin said. "No wreckage, no distress signals. They just vanished completely. The few ships that turned back in time reported seeing things. That should not exist." "What kind of things?" Tae-ho asked, his eyes wide. "Structures the size of moons. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Technology so advanced it looked like magic." Jaemin finished plotting their new course. "The Galactic Council officially calls it a navigation hazard, but every experienced pilot knows the real reason we avoid it." Minsu looked confused. "If humans disappeared 300 years ago, how can they still be watching?" "That is the question that keeps many people awake at night," Hyunwoo said. "Maybe they never really left. Maybe they just became something else." The ship's engines hummed as they changed direction to avoid the forbidden zone. Through the main window, Hyunwoo could see the distant stars that marked the edge of the Terra Alpha 7. "System." They looked normal, but something about them felt different, older, more patient. "Captain," said Communications Officer Do-hyun, "I am picking up some strange signals from that direction. Very faint, but definitely artificial." "What kind of signals?" "I cannot tell. They are using frequencies and patterns I have never seen before, but they are definitely scanning us." Everyone on the bridge turned to look at the forbidden sector. The idea that something was watching them right now made them all uncomfortable. "How long have those signals been active?" Hyunwoo asked. "Hard to say, sir. They are so advanced that our equipment can barely detect them. They could have been watching us since we entered this star system." Hyunwoo made a decision. "Everyone focus on your work. We maintain our current course and avoid any unnecessary transmissions until we are well clear of this area." As the Stellar Wind continued on its new path, carefully skirting the edge of the forbidden zone, Hyunwoo could not shake the feeling that invisible eyes were following their every move. Somewhere in that empty space, ancient guardians maintained their endless watch. The cargo run would take 2 extra days now, and the company would not be happy about the additional fuel costs. But Hyunwoo knew he had made the right choice. Some boundaries existed for good reasons, and 300 years of universal respect for the human watchers was not something to take lightly. Whatever the humans had become, they were still out there, still watching, still protecting something that the rest of the galaxy was not ready to understand. Dr. So Young carefully moved her small research ship through the floating pieces of metal and broken equipment that surrounded the old space station. The station had been built by humans long ago, before they disappeared from the galaxy. Now it drifted empty and dark near the edge of the forbidden zone. "Be careful with those samples," she called to her assistant Do-hyun, who was using a robot, armed to collect pieces of human technology. "These artifacts are the only clues we have about what humans were really like." So Young was a young scientist from the Kelrani people. She studied old civilizations and their technology. Most of her colleagues thought she was wasting her time studying humans, but she could not stop thinking about them. How does an entire race just disappear? And why does everyone still fear the space they left behind? "Professor, look at this," Do-hyun said, holding up a small metal device. "The translation computer says it contains music files, hundreds of them." So Young took the device and connected it to her analysis equipment. Soft sounds filled the research ship as the device played human music. The melodies were beautiful and sad at the same time. They sounded like songs about missing home and lost friends. How can beings who created such beautiful music be dangerous? So Young wondered aloud. "Maybe that is why they are dangerous," Do-hyun replied. "Beautiful things can be the most powerful." So Young had been studying human artifacts for 2 years. She had found their books, their art, their personal belongings. Everything suggested that humans were much like other intelligent species in the galaxy. They loved their families. They created beautiful things. They explored space because they were curious about the universe. But she had also found their military records. "Do-hyun, bring up those tactical files we discovered last week," she said. Her assistant activated the main screen. Lines of text appeared, showing human battle plans and weapon designs. The technology described in these files was far beyond what any current galactic civilization could build. "Look at this weapon system." So Young pointed to a section of the document. "It says here that one human battleship could defeat an entire enemy fleet. And this was their standard equipment 300 years ago," Do-hyun read over her shoulder. "This section talks about something called Project Sentinel. It says they built a network of monitoring stations throughout the galaxy." "Monitoring stations? You mean they were watching other species? Not just watching. According to this, they were learning everything about us. Our languages, our technology, our weaknesses, our culture. They studied every alien race they encountered." So Young felt a chill run through her body. Why would they need to know so much about other species? Maybe they were planning to conquer everyone, Do-hyun suggested. Or maybe they were trying to protect everyone, So Young said thoughtfully. "Look at this entry here." She highlighted a section of text that had been bothering her for days. It was a personal log from a human military commander. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "We have become too powerful too quickly," the log read. "Our weapons can destroy planets. Our technology can control minds. Our knowledge can remake entire solar systems. But our wisdom has not grown as fast as our abilities. We are like children playing with weapons that could kill gods. Perhaps it is time to step back before we hurt someone we cannot save." Do-hyun stared at the screen. They were afraid of themselves. "That is not the strangest part," So Young continued. "I have been comparing these dates with galactic historical records. Every major war in the past 300 years ended suddenly and mysteriously. Plagues that should have killed millions somehow stopped spreading. Pirates who terrorized entire sectors simply disappeared. You think the humans were still helping other species, even after they supposedly vanished?" So Young stood up and walked to the window of her research ship. In the distance, she could see the red warning markers that surrounded the Terra Alpha 7 system. "I think they never really left." I think they are still out there, watching over the galaxy like parents watching over children. But why hide? Why not just tell everyone they are still around? Because look what happened when other species just thought they were gone, So Young said. The Krex Empire has been expanding aggressively. The Vorthan Republic has been building bigger weapons. The Zephyrian clans have been fighting more wars. Maybe the humans realized that their presence was preventing other species from growing up. Du-hyun looked at the Forbidden Zone markers. Or maybe they were afraid that if other species knew how powerful they had become, everyone would either worship them or try to destroy them. So Young made a decision that would change her life forever. I need to get closer to that system. If the humans are still out there, someone needs to understand why they are hiding. Professor, that is extremely dangerous. Every species has lost ships in that area. Then maybe it is time someone asked permission instead of just trying to take what they want, So Young said. I am going to send a message to Terra Alpha 7. Not a demand or a threat, just a simple request from one scientist to another. She began composing a transmission that would either answer the galaxy's greatest mystery or add her name to the list of those who disappeared trying to find the truth about humanity's watchers. Admiral Wu Jin stood on the command bridge of his massive warship, the Domination. Through the large windows, he could see his entire battle fleet spread out in perfect formation. 200 of the most powerful ships in the Krex Empire floated in space, ready to claim new territory for their growing civilization. Admiral, we are approaching the outer boundary of the Terra Alpha 7 system, reported his navigation officer, Lieutenant Seo Jun. All ships are maintaining formation and weapons are ready. Wu Jin smiled with confidence. The Krex Empire had conquered 47 star systems in the past 10 years. Their military was the strongest in the galaxy. No force had been able to stop their expansion across the stars. Sir, we are receiving urgent messages from the Galactic Council, said Communications Officer Min Ho. They are strongly advising us to turn back immediately. Cowards, Wu Jin laughed. They fear our success. What exactly are they saying? Min Ho read from his screen. The Vorthan Republic warns that no military force has ever returned from that system. The Kelrani Federation says we are making a terrible mistake. Even the Zephyrian war clans are telling us to avoid this area. The Zephyrians are afraid? Asked Fleet Commander Tae Young with surprise. They fight wars for entertainment. All the more reason to ignore their warnings, Wu Jin declared. If we can claim territory that even the Zephyrians fear to approach, it will prove the superiority of the Krex Empire. The Admiral walked to the main tactical display. The Terra Alpha 7 system showed rich planets full of rare minerals and perfect worlds for new colonies. It had been empty for 300 years, waiting for someone brave enough to take it. The humans disappeared centuries ago, Wu Jin said to his officers. Whatever automated defenses they left behind will be old and broken by now. Our modern weapons will easily destroy any ancient technology. Lieutenant Seo Jun looked worried. Sir, my grandfather served in the first survey missions to this area 50 years ago. He said the defense platforms they detected were unlike anything in our databases. Your grandfather was probably seeing sensor ghosts, Wu Jin replied dismissively. Fear makes people imagine things that are not there. As the fleet crossed into the Forbidden Zone, every ship's communication system suddenly activated at the same time. The bridge fell completely silent as a calm, clear voice spoke in perfect Krex language. Attention, Krex Empire Fleet. You are entering a protected zone. You have 10 minutes to withdraw your forces and return to your previous position. This is your only warning. The voice was unmistakably human, but it sounded strange. It was too perfect, too calm, like it came from someone who had been practicing the Krex language for a very long time. Wu Jin felt his confidence shake for a moment, but he quickly recovered his composure. How are they speaking our language so perfectly? He asked his communication officer. I do not know, sir. The transmission is coming from multiple sources throughout the system. It is as if the entire sector is speaking to us. Fleet Commander, Tae Young checked his sensor readings. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from various points in the system. The readings do not match any known technology. Sir, interrupted Weapons Officer Young Ho, our targeting computers cannot lock onto the sources of these energy readings. It is like they are there and not there at the same time. Wu Jin straightened his shoulders and activated the fleet-wide communication channel. This is Admiral Wu Jin of the Krex Empire. We do not recognize your authority over this system. The humans abandoned this territory 300 years ago. It now belongs to whoever is strong enough to claim it. The response came immediately, and this time the human voice carried a note of sadness. Admiral, we know you graduated from the Krex Military Academy 15 years ago. We know you have a wife named He Jin and 2 children on your home planet. We know your favorite food is roasted kelp, and your greatest fear is being forgotten by history. We have been watching your species for 73 years, 4 months, and 16 days. The bridge crew looked at each other in shock. The information was completely accurate and impossibly detailed. How do they know these things? Whispered Lieutenant Seojun. We know because we have been studying every species in this galaxy, the human voice continued. We know your tactics, your technology, your culture, and your dreams. We withdrew from galactic society, not because we were weak, but because we became too strong. We did not want to become the monsters that every other species would fear. Wu Jin's hands were shaking now, but his pride would not let him retreat. We are the Krex Empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds. We do not run from empty threats. We know, the voice replied with infinite patience. That is why this will be educational for everyone. Suddenly, the space around the Krex fleet began to change. Massive structures appeared from nowhere, decloaking, like ghosts becoming solid. Each platform was larger than 3 battleships combined, and their design was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral, Jung-ho said in a voice barely above a whisper, our weapon systems are being scanned and analyzed. Whatever is out there is learning how to defeat us in real time. The 10-minute warning had expired, and the watchers were no longer content to simply watch. The 10 minutes passed like hours aboard Admiral Wu Jin's flagship. Every officer on the bridge watched their instruments with growing fear as strange energy readings appeared throughout the Terra Alpha 7 system. The Admiral had refused to retreat, believing his powerful fleet could overcome any old human technology. Sir, something is happening, reported Sensor Officer Young-soo, his voice shaking. Massive objects are appearing on our screens. They were not there a moment ago. The main viewing screen flickered and then displayed something that made everyone gasp. Enormous structures were materializing from empty space as if they had been invisible until now. Each platform was bigger than the largest Krex battleship, and there were dozens of them surrounding the fleet. How is that possible? Whispered Fleet Commander Tae-young. Our sensors show nothing, then suddenly these giant stations are everywhere. The structures looked like they were built by artists instead of engineers. Their surfaces were smooth and curved, made from materials that seemed to shift color in the starlight. They did not look like weapons, but everyone could feel the incredible power contained within them. Communications Officer Min-ho suddenly straightened at his station. Admiral, we are receiving another transmission. The signal is coming from all directions at once. A new voice filled the bridge. It was clearly human, but different from the first warning. This voice sounded older, wiser, and somehow sad. It spoke as if it had seen too much of the universe and carried the weight of difficult decisions. Greetings, Admiral Wu Jin of the Krex Empire, the voice said. I am sorry that it has come to this, but you have left us no choice. We have observed your species since you first achieved spaceflight. We know your history, your culture, and your potential for both good and evil. Wu Jin found his voice. Who are you? Show yourselves. We are what humanity became when we realized our power was growing faster than our wisdom, the voice replied. We are the children of Earth who chose to evolve beyond the need for conquest and expansion. We became something new to protect the galaxy from what we might have become. Lieutenant Seojun checked his tactical display with horror. Sir, they are targeting every single ship in our fleet at the same time. Our defensive systems are being studied and countered as we speak. How are they analyzing our defenses so quickly? Demanded Wu Jin. Because we have been watching and learning for 300 years, the human voice answered, somehow hearing their private conversation. Every weapon you have built, we have studied. Every tactic you have used, we have analyzed. Every weakness in your technology we have cataloged. What happened next could not be called a battle. It was a demonstration of power so complete that it redefined what the galaxy thought was possible. The human platforms began to act. Beams of soft blue light touched each Krex warship. The beams did not destroy or damage anything, but they made all the ship's weapons completely useless. Ion cannons that could crack planets became harmless toys. Shields that could stop asteroid impacts simply disappeared. "Our weapons are not responding," shouted Weapons Officer Jung Ho. "Nothing is working." "Engines are offline," reported the engineering station. "But life support is still functioning perfectly." Invisible forces began moving the massive Krex battleships like a child arranging toy boats in a bathtub. Ships that weighed millions of tons were gently pushed into neat rows, completely helpless but unharmed. "This is impossible," Wu Jin said, staring at his useless control panels. "No technology can do this. You are thinking like a species that still believes in limitations," the human voice said kindly. "We gave up those limitations long ago, but with great power came great responsibility. We realized that if we remained active in galactic affairs, other species would never have the chance to grow and learn for themselves." The voice began broadcasting on all galactic frequencies, ensuring that every civilization in the galaxy could hear what happened next. "We are the descendants of Terra," the voice announced to the universe. "We did not disappear in defeat or destruction. We withdrew voluntarily to protect younger species from our influence. We evolved beyond the need for physical expansion, but we never abandoned our duty to protect the innocent." Communications Officer Min Ho looked up from his station with amazement. "Sir, we are receiving responses from across the galaxy. Every major species is listening to this transmission. We have spent 3 centuries watching over you all," the human voice continued. "We have prevented wars that would have destroyed entire worlds. We have stopped plagues that would have killed billions. We have guided discoveries that saved countless lives. We did this quietly, secretly, because we learned that visible gods create more problems than they solve." Admiral Wu Jin felt his anger drain away, replaced by something he had never experienced before: humility. "What do you want from us?" "We want you to learn," the voice replied. "The Krex Empire has great potential, but you have chosen conquest over cooperation. This system will remain protected, not as a threat, but as a reminder that true strength sometimes means choosing not to use your power." The Krex fleet found themselves gently pushed back to the edge of the system, their ships functional again, but forever changed by what they had witnessed. The Watchers had revealed themselves, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Krex Empire's failed attack on Terra Alpha 7, Dr. So-Young sat in the great library of the Galactic Council, surrounded by stacks of documents and data files. Her small research project about human artifacts had become the most important investigation in galactic history. "Professor, I have finished analyzing the historical records from all member species," said her colleague Dr. Yun Seo, approaching with a thick folder of papers. "The pattern is incredible." So-Young looked up from her notes. She had been working for weeks to understand what the human Watchers had really been doing for 300 years. "What did you discover?" "Every single species in the galaxy has been helped by mysterious interventions over the past 3 centuries, Yun Seo explained, sitting down at the table. "But the help was so subtle that most people thought it was just good luck or coincidence." So-Young leaned forward with interest. "Give me some examples." "The Vorthon plague of 2847 that killed millions of people," Yun Seo began. "It stopped spreading exactly 1 day after a cure was mysteriously delivered to their top scientists. The delivery had no return address, and the cure used medical knowledge that the Vorthons did not possess." "I remember reading about that," So-Young said. "The official report said their scientists made a breakthrough." "Here's another one," Yun Seo continued. "The pirate fleet that terrorized the Kelrani trade routes for 5 years suddenly disappeared without explanation. Their ships were found empty, drifting in space with no crew aboard. The pirates were later discovered on a prison planet with no memory of how they got there." So-Young felt a chill of understanding. The humans were gardening us, They were quietly fixing problems and preventing disasters. The evidence goes deeper than that, Yunseo said, opening another file. I found records of wars that ended when key military leaders suddenly developed unexpected wisdom. Scientific breakthroughs that happened just when they were needed most. Natural disasters that were mysteriously less destructive than they should have been. So Young stood up and walked to the library's great windows. Outside, she could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going from the galactic capital, all of them flying freely through space that had been secretly protected by invisible guardians. They became the parents of the galaxy, she said quietly. They grew so powerful that they could have ruled us all, but instead they chose to protect us while letting us think we were taking care of ourselves. Look at this communication log, Yunseo said, handing her a data tablet. It was found in the wreckage of that old human station you were studying. It explains everything. So Young read the ancient human text carefully. The words were written by someone who sounded tired and sad, but also deeply caring. We have become gods without meaning to, the log said. Our technology can reshape planets, our weapons can destroy solar systems, our knowledge can control the thoughts of entire populations. But we are still just human beings with human emotions and human mistakes. What happens when gods get angry? What happens when gods make errors? We must remove ourselves from the equation before we accidentally destroy everything we were trying to protect. They were afraid of themselves, So Young whispered. The Terra Alpha 7 system serves 3 purposes, Yunseo explained. It is a memorial to their original human nature. It is a test to see which species respect boundaries. And it is a monitoring station for the entire galaxy. So Young thought about the Krex fleet that had been gently but firmly turned away from the Forbidden Zone. The Krex ships were returned to their home system completely unharmed. Even after they tried to invade, the humans chose mercy over punishment. That is the most important part, Yunseo agreed. They could have destroyed the entire Krex fleet in seconds. Instead, they disabled their weapons, moved their ships, and sent them home safely. They turned an act of aggression into a teaching moment. A soft chime indicated that So Young had received a new message on her personal communication device. She looked at the screen and gasped. The message had no sender identification, but she somehow knew exactly who had sent it. Dr. So Young, the message read, your research has been noted and appreciated. You have helped the galaxy understand that strength and wisdom must grow together. The Terra Alpha 7 system will always be protected, not as a threat to other species, but as a promise that someone is watching over the young civilizations as they learn to walk among the stars. Continue your good work. The universe needs more people who ask questions instead of making assumptions. So Young showed the message to Yunseo, who read it with wide eyes. They are still watching, Yunseo said. Yes, So Young replied, looking back out at the busy space traffic. And now I understand why that makes me feel safe instead of afraid. The galaxy had learned that its greatest mystery was also its greatest protection. Somewhere in the depths of space, evolved humans continued their patient vigil, ensuring that younger species could grow, explore, and reach for the stars without fear. The Watchers remained, and the universe was better for their presence.